Please don't put dog ears on me.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
You want a wand or a little crown?
Hi, Jeannie. I think we've met before.
It's been a long time. Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. It's wonderful to see you all. And we're going to start off by offering a prayer, or share your energy or your positive thoughts, whatever's comfortable for you. Creator of the universe, source of all life, we thank you for this opportunity to be together, to encourage and upbuild each other, to be mindful of our spiritual need, and to be open and receptive for any message that is meant for our best and highest good. And so it is. As you can see, I'm still a little bit scratchy, but I'm way better than I was. And I'm not contagious, so no worries. So I know that we were in the month of faith, and we had talked about faith all month, and this is our last Tuesday of the month. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit is faith in relationship to works, because I think that's really important. So many of us have a deep, abiding faith, and yet we live only in that faith. And so we know the story of the man on the roof during the flood, right? The man is sitting on the roof, and the flood waters are rising. And a boat goes by, and he says, "Hey, come in the boat. I'll rescue you." And he's like, No, I'm waiting for God. God is going to save me." And then, another boat goes by, and he's like, No, it's okay. I'm waiting for God. And the water comes all the way up, and a helicopter comes by and goes, "Hey, catch on to the ladder. We're going to take you to safety." And he's like, No, I'm waiting for God to save me. Of course, he drowned in the floodwaters. So, we have to recognize that we have a role in working out our faith, and it is a significant role. So we have to acknowledge that. And so I wanted to talk about that role in relationship to spirit messages, because quite often what happens, this is a crazy thing, but quite often what happens is when we're giving spirit messages is that two things happen, actually. The first thing that happens is we're giving a message that's an intuitive message. From spirit guides, from the other side, from people, whatever it is that is our connection, and each individual is different based on their personal expression of faith. The other thing that happens is the receiving end of that. And some people are hearing that, and they're hearing things sometimes that they're not really connecting with, and or are not happy hearing. So if we think about that from the perspective of faithfulness, if we're faithful people and we believe that this message is coming from spirit, first we'll talk about the giving end. So on the giving end, of course, I want to make sure that the message that I'm giving is not coming from ego, but is in fact coming from spirit. That I'm not going to take that opportunity when someone's vulnerable and open and receptive to a spiritual message and use that for my own personal benefit. Whether that means making myself look important so that I can finger wag at them, or to exalt myself in the vast amount of knowledge that I have about whatever it is that I'm feeling like I need to talk about. Because that is not what that's for. The whole purpose of that experience is to share with an individual something that may be meaningful and important to them, or encouraging to them, and in light of spirit. So how do we know if it's in light of spirit or not? How do I know that in my heart I'm being faithful in relaying that information if I'm giving a spiritual message? And you could apply this, those of you who are intuitive, to your tarot reading or to any other spiritual activity that you're engaging in, even if that spirit activity is just the conversation in your head, right? How many of us have spiritual conversations in our head, right? We have experiences, and then we're like, we try and reason through that. So how do we know that it's either a spiritual experience, or is it my ego that's playing into that situation? Well, first of all, if it's negative, if it's accusatory, if it tears down and doesn't encourage, it is not from spirit. Simple. That's easy peasy. So you can recognize right away that spirit's going to give you a message that's going to be helpful, encouraging, upbuilding, important, and meaningful to you personally. Doesn't mean that the other person that's giving the message understands what it is, but for you, that's really important, that you understand the difference between something that comes from ego, that's self-serving, and something that comes from spirit. And it doesn't mean that it may not correct the path, but usually the way that information is relayed through spirit is not like this. Because if it comes off like this, you're going to take it like this. And that's not what spirit wants, right? Spirit wants you to be open and receptive. So how are you open and receptive? You're open and receptive to words that are kind and good and are pleasant in your ears and that make you feel benefiting, that you're benefiting from something, right? So that's how we know if we're giving a message from spirit or receiving a message inside our head in our spiritual practice from spirit. On the receiving end, how do we deal with that in an attitude of faithfulness? When somebody gives us a message that's from ego, ouch. How many of us here in this room have received a message that we felt like was contrived for the purpose of eliciting a particular response? There you go. There you go. Some of us have been in the community for a very long time, so it's bound to happen at one point or another. So when that happens, how do you react to that? Do you react to that in a hostile way? That's not for me. You know, that message isn't for me. Don't give that message to me. Or do you accept that whatever's going on with the individual that's giving you the message, clearly they're working something out as well, and we are mirrors for each other, and we accept that. So you don't have to take that message into your heart, but you don't also have to get up and stand, get me behind you, Satan, carrying on and all that stuff. That doesn't have to go that far, really. It doesn't have to go that far. We recognize that we're each individuals, and we are imperfect individuals, and sometimes when we're in a space where we feel like we need to be valued or seen, then we may react in a different way than we might normally. So who is qualified to give messages? If somebody is giving messages from ego, are they not qualified to give messages? Of course not. Because anybody who walks in spirit with the intention of serving their fellow man is in a position to be used by spirit. It's that simple. It's not up to you primarily. Spirit will decide whether spirit's going to use you or not. And if you don't have messages that are upbuilding and encouraging and all that, then you need to kind of look at that and say, well, maybe I'm not getting spirit working through me at this particular time. Sometimes it happens that we will say to someone who's a message giver, do you have messages? And you know what they say? No. Better to say no than to make something up.
Yep.
Better to say no. And that's okay. It's okay not to have a message for somebody. If you have a hug, that'd be okay. So we need to look at both of the sides of that coin in a mindful state of faithfulness, understanding that spirit uses people that are in connection with spirit. And if you're looking for some information or some kind of answer to a question, spirit may use somebody completely unattached to this congregation or this group to give you the answer that you're looking for, because spirit can use any person at any time, because spirit is everywhere. Spirit is everywhere. And so when we're dealing with spiritual activities, we need to view them in a mind of faithfulness and engage them in a mind frame of faithfulness and understand that spirit is working in these situations. It's not always people doing things. Sometimes it's spirit doing things. On the other hand, people can do things to correct themselves when it's necessary to adjust attitudes and behaviors and demonstrations of behaviors that are not for the group collective or for their own best and highest good. Doesn't make you a bad person. Sometimes we're just not sure. And if you're not sure, then don't say anything. Don't say anything. It's okay to be quiet. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because quite often we have that crossover and things seem, faithful in a biblical sense of what faithfulness is, doesn't discuss these things. It doesn't bring these things into context, and it's something that we engage in our community on a regular basis. So I think it's really important that we understand what our role is. Are we open and receptive? Are we accepting of each other? Perfect and imperfect? Because we believe that God can use everybody, right? That's what we say. And so that's why it's important to be a doer and work out our faith in our behaviors, in our attitudes, and our walk. And so I'll leave that with you. It's a blessing. And we are going to have a meditation, so everybody take a nice deep breath. Bless you. And again and again and again. There you go.
Bless you.
Deep breaths, deep relaxing breaths. And kind of let your breath relax your body. Use your breath to relax your body. Once you get into that relaxed state, just breathe comfortably, however is comfortable for you. And just allow your body to melt into the chair. Let your thoughts melt out of your mind and just focus on your breath. Each breath you become more and more relaxed, more and more focused on your breath. And you notice that your breath becomes easier. It flows in and out. In between the in and out is the space of being. So as you're focusing on your breath, look for that space of being between the in breath and the out breath. And as you get better and better at relaxing your mind and focusing on your breath, you notice that space between the in-breath and the out-breath becomes greater. After a few more breaths, we notice that space in between the in-breath and the out-breath has consumed our in and out-breath. And we've forgotten about the breath and instead focus on the space. In the space of being, we are not our identity, we are not ourselves, we are not our body, we are not our mind. We just are. We have no past, we have no future. We live in this moment, being in this now. And in this now, we find peace. we feel wiggly or distracted, we bring ourselves back into the process, back into the cycle of breathing in. Finding that space and breathing out. So as we find the space of being, this space of now, this space of peace, we reside with the great I am. And in this space we can proclaim for ourselves that which is our greatest desire. And be open and receptive to that that is meant for us from Spirit. We don't need to visualize it. We don't need to articulate it. Spirit knows what we need and what we want. We only need to allow. And in faith, know that it is so. As we accept this place of peacefulness, this communion with the great I am, we acknowledge in gratitude that this is a gift. And then again, begin to focus on our breath. Comfortably and in a relaxed state, breathing in and breathing out. And as we're mindfully breathing, we notice that the space in between our in-breath and our out-breath begins to shorten just a little. As that space shortens, we become very aware of our physical body, the space around us, our breathing, but we feel relaxed. As our breath becomes normal and regular, breathing in and breathing out. We're grateful for the opportunity to be in this space at this time. We start to feel rested and rejuvenated, becoming more and more awake with each breath. And as we slowly become awake, back into our space, back into our body, to our awareness, we wiggle our fingers and our toes, taking one last deep awakening breath. We feel rejuvenated, energized, but at peace, and grateful for the experience. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How many of you notice that when you're in that deep meditative state, sometimes it's hard to pull yourself back from that? And you'll notice as you get better and better at meditating, that time you can really get lost in that time that you're in communion with Spirit. And so now we meditate here for 10 minutes, maybe in our guided meditation, but on your own, it's very simple. You know, once you reach that level of comfortability in that space, to lose, half an hour, that's very normal. So I hope that you're practicing your meditation, in the mornings and in the evenings when it's good for you, and really benefiting from that in every way that you can. So now we are going to start our healing. I have not pulled out chairs, so I need to do that. And those that would like to serve as healers this evening can take a space behind a chair. Thank you, Peter. You can mute on. Excellent. Set up for those that would like to take advantage, and I'm going to drop the lights just a little bit. Folks, make sure your phones are turned on to vibrate, and try and keep your voice down a little bit so that those who are in the healing chairs can really benefit from the experience that they're having. want to say a special thank you to those who offered themselves as vessels for spirit this evening. Jeannie, sorry, Reverend Lulu, Reverend Joy. Thank you, Peter, again, for helping us with the sound system. You're just wonderful. Okay, a couple of announcements. So we had talked a little bit about the drum circle, and clearly we're not having the drum circle here anymore. What I thought we might do is have a wandering drum circle / meditation. And so what we'll do is every month on the last Thursday of the month, I'll announce it in advance, we're not gonna do it this month, but we'll start next month, is we'll have a meditation and or a drum circle or some kind of activity on the last Thursday of the month, and we'll move it around from place to place. So it may be on the beach, it may be in the park, it may be at my house, it may be at a different couple of places. So I think that that's a fun way to do it for those that wanna be out in nature, and then there's gonna be some of our folks that can't be out in nature. So it'll give us all an opportunity to take advantage of a drum circle and or meditation outside of this space. So I will announce it at the beginning of the month where we're gonna have it during the course of the month, and then repeat it every Tuesday so that we remember. I'll post it on Facebook, and I'll also post it on our meetup page. So this way everybody knows where we're gonna be and what's gonna be going on. That was the first announcement. So we're also gonna have a potluck in the park, but I'm not sure which park you guys wanna go to, but I thought it might be nice just to have a day out and about in the afternoon sometime. And maybe Lake Seminole would be a good place because it's pretty covered, you know, because we'll get one of the shelters there, and I thought that would be a great place to have a day out. So we have an opportunity to hang out together. Those that want to walk the trail can walk the trail. Those that just want to, you know, throw bread at the birds, throw bread at the birds. Whatever it is that you want to do, and I thought that would be a great way for us to spend the day together. So I will plan that. With our ministers, we will be having a ministry school on the 13th of July on Saturday. So we'll discuss it, and then we'll come to a consensus and let you know when that'll be, but it'll be before the end of the summer, so it'll be something that'll be fun for us. Even if we're out at the beach someplace, if we decide to do something like that, I'll make sure that it's in an area that's conducive to everybody that may have limitations, so that it's comfortable for everybody. So yay for us. And thank you people on Facebook for joining us. You'll notice that I have been doing the healing session, and I think it's really important that even